This video we're going to talk about guide coat. This isn't new to some of you maybe, but if it is, this is going to be a fantastic video for you to catch up. If not, it's just part of the process of bringing back my dad's old bird here. Got everything all in epoxy primer. It's all sealed up. It's a fantastic foundation. But step one is we got to scuff the entire surface with a Scotch-Brite pad. It's been out of the window now time, just a top coat without scuffing it. So I get the privilege now to do the entire thing here with this. This is going to give us the open face that we add body filler, our hide build primer, and anything else that we need to do on top of this to get it level, including our guide coat. Now this car is painted black. I like using the black powder type guide coat. Not going to work. My contrasting color isn't there. You can use spray paint. Some people actually like the spray paint guide coat. You missed a contrasting color on the top of your primer, whatever the area you want to work, and as you sand it off, the area that still shows your contrasting color is a low situation that needs some kind of remedy, either a hammer and dolly if it's really aggressive dent, or just a little bit of body filler and sand is smooth. I think for the most part we shouldn't have any major surprises. I don't feel we have anything left in our metal work that we're going to need to hammer and dolly anything. So I think my next step is now go ahead and scuff the entire car with this and show you the next part of the plan. Alright, now when it comes to scuffing this whole thing down, there really isn't any magic to it, but you want to take, it has almost kind of a dull shine to it. You want to cover it, hit it a couple, 2-3 times. You know, you'll actually get where the shine kind of goes away, so it all has a nice even gray color. Now this is where I recoated the epoxy, so it's got a little different color to it, but same idea. By the time I'm done, it almost looks like that light gray color. So I'll have that here for probably the next 20 or 30 minutes, then I'll bring you back. Well, there's approximately 35 minutes of my life that I'll never get back, but everything now is all keyed up and scuffed. Let's see if I get that to zoom in, but you get the idea. It has to have a no reflection finish. I've got it all wiped down, so we're ready to go ahead and hit it with a little bit of a guide coat to give us our contrast. I'm going to use a light gray, very sandable rattle can primer. You don't want to use regular paint because it'll gum up your sandpaper, especially on top of this epoxy. It seems to not be a little less forgiving, but let's go ahead and put a little mist of guide coat on so we can work on the next part of it. Now I prefer the dry coat, but I don't know if they make a silver or white dry coat. So again, a little rattle can primer. We're just going to give a little bit of contrast. We're not going to get it overspray everywhere. We just need a little bit of difference. When we sand it, it'll highlight our low spots. This stuff probably dry in 15-20 minutes or dry enough. We're not putting it on heavy, just a little mist coat, you know? And it should highlight any sand marks left in our under layers or any of the any spots that are dents or dings that I might have missed. Just gotta do the whole car this way. So let's take a couple minutes and then I'll bring you back. All right, guide coat's all on there. It's got a cool little pattern going on. I got my Durablock here, Lowe's from 220 sandpaper, and I'm gonna let the block do the work. I don't wanna push hard because my goal is not to burn through that epoxy primer. Now, is this really the best step for someone who really knows lots of years of body working? Probably not, because they would probably just go ahead and jump to maybe putting body fill on all the spots and then high build primer. But here's the thing about it. I don't know where all the low spots are. My hands are pretty good, but I'm trying to show you all a way to do it in case you don't have a lot of experience doing body work. So my plan is to highlight all the spots that need attention, and this is the best way I think I can figure out how to show you. And once you get better, you might be able to skip some of these steps, but the idea right now is not to burn through the epoxy primer and highlight the areas that need additional work. When I painted it that black, it had a little bit of a reflection to it. I can see some things that I missed when I was roughing it out. Not the end of the world. That's where we're going to show you what needs to be done next by blocking it here with some 220. Now, when we're blocking it, like I said, I'm going to let the block do the work. I'm not going to push on it so hard I could push started if I was pushing it downhill. But we're going to let the block glide across the top, and it should highlight any lower areas. They're going to remain this grayish color, this the primer color that I used. And then I also want to try to work it from like body line to body line. I've actually had one here, so as I'm sanding it, I don't want to just go back and forth or up and down. I'm going to go to about a 45 or 30 degree angle and work it as close as I can from line. It's like here it has a defined line, and here work almost from line to line. I may kind of go like this and they get down to that line, but the idea is to blend it. Because you leave anything high or low between the lines, as your eyes are attracted to. They're drawn to the lines. As long as you don't cause a ripple in between, it looks like a flat panel. So let's get started here. I'm already seeing some stuff popping up here into the spots that I could see when I primed it, but it's pretty minor. Hope it has enough contrast in the camera, but you'll see a spot here and a spot there and a little spot there poking through. Those are going to be areas that are going to need some kind of body filler. Now, technically, for some people, they feel that high build primer would be enough to fill in those areas. I'm not a fan of that. High build primer has its pros and cons, but the biggest con for me is that it likes to shrink. If I were to fill out with high build primer and it shrinks, that low depression is going to come back through my final paint job maybe a year or two later. So I don't think I'm going to go that route. Now this is a Camaro, we wouldn't have to worry about these little inserts. It actually sands a little easier. So you Camaro folks, you got it easier than we do on the birds. These little gills aren't quite showing up in the camera, but you know what I'm talking about. The guy is there inside. And I'm going the other direction here. And again, my goal is not to burn through the epoxy. And I'm getting pretty thin here. So I need to stop sanding. I'm actually burning almost through that epoxy primer. Yeah. Now, same thing here. I'm just about to burn through the epoxy. Definitely a low spot, a low spot. Now I'm only putting fingertip pressure equal on this block end to end. I'm not pushing it hard because it'll gouge it, but just kind of let it glide. That's why you have a sanding block. Now there is a defined line right here, so I'm going to try to keep working it from line to line. This has a pretty sharp radius this way, and of course this way on that fender well. So this is not going to sand that out quite so well. Let me show you what we got here. This is a low spot. You can see where the gray still sticking out. This is where I said almost burned through the metal. It's super close, so I need to stop sanding it. So that's the highest point on the panel, this being the lowest. Now, so when I sprayed it, I knew I had a couple little minor ripples in the back. So I'm not surprised about those. That I expected to see. But when it sands like this, where all the primer comes out pretty even, that would be kind of ideal. But even this is a little bit low. You can see the metal just about to poke through. So in these areas, these are already scuffed. I can put a very skim coat of body filler, then do the 220 across all that again to get that thing straightened out. Here we go, just about burned. Yep, almost you see the metal poking through, so I need to stop. Now, if I were to burn them through really bad, I need to come back through and probably touch up with some epoxy. So I would say maybe for beginning, just focus on one panel at a time and then try to get it worked and maybe seal back up and work your way around. But I've got the entire car basically to block out this way. So I'm gonna keep working the 220. Now what I'm gonna do here on the wheel well, this is it has some flexibility, not nearly as rigid as that one sanding block that I had. And I'm gonna do the same thing. You can see my marks here. I'm gonna kind of work that all the way around and try to blend it into here and do the whole radius. Now you can see with your own eyes the purpose of the actual guide coat. That is a low spot, low spot, low spot. High, the metal start to burn through. Low spot, low, low, low. Now they're almost so minor that you really can't feel it by hand. This is why that visual is so good, especially for beginners, where to add some body filler. Because that would have shown up in our finishes, a little dimple or a little bit of a wave. I got a little tiny dent going on here. And then when I did my filler work here, you can see some highlights where I didn't get it sanded out. You can actually see the sand marks. So I'm going to come through now with the glaze putty and kind of cover up the areas. Here's low, 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 low. You get the idea. You can see where I stopped the putty. It didn't feel bad by hand, but sometimes that transition from body filler to metal leaves that line. So we're going to get this roughed in with our skim coat of glaze coat body filler. But that was just the point of this video, was explaining why, and now you can see the benefit of using a guide coat. Now the rest of the panel came out pretty good. Now this isn't a low spot, that's actually almost burned through to the metal, but you can see the rest of the panel, I don't have those highlights. Same thing, almost there metal, but the guide coat has little speckles in it. You can see where the paint didn't quite cover. That gives you an idea where you need to put your filler at. And I actually have a little dent here that I didn't see with my eyes, but you can see it in the radius here. There's actually a ding right there. So, and two little minor ones here and here. So that's how it's gonna help me visually get all these things filled in and blocked. There's a quick little video on what the purpose of guide coat. You can really see the contrast from here if I'm further back, but the camera just kind of tricks you sometimes. But here in person, and now you can see it here, I assure you, this is the easiest way to find areas that need some attention. Now you could flip-flop it, use a gray primer and then a black guide coat. That's what I typically do, or a tan primer. I just had this black epoxy primer. It has a shelf life of about a year that I needed to use. And you know, materials ain't cheap, so I'm using what I got. And I'm finding this is a little more challenging this way, but hey, still getting the job done and showing you how it works just the same. So nonetheless, I still have the rest of the car, the entire thing to do, get it blocked out. And then I will come back and do maybe some body filling and blocking that and show you how that's done possibly. Or of course, anything else that you want to see along the way. So nonetheless, I'm gonna keep doing the same thing I just got done doing there to the rest of the car. I won't bore you to death with that, but my fingers will be twice the size they are and buff and worn out. But nonetheless, I will get the job done and I'll get the camera on the next part we got going on. And I hope to see you all then.